is Robert Pinney, 89 years old, born January 8, 1922. Commander Pinney, TVM pilot, Navy Cross recipient, 1944 to 1961. War hero. Sunk a Japanese cruiser that was fleeing to safe harbor at the time during Hiroshima. My dad, father of three, my older sister Deborah, and my twin sister Robin, and me. I was told that my dad requested that if there was a eulogy to be given on his behalf, he wanted me to give it. For that, I am honored. Perhaps he wanted a short service, for there are those here who knew him far better than I. However, I can only speak from my own experience, so that's what I'll do. I first became somewhat aware of my dad's Navy heroism as a young boy, and I swelled with pride as I would brag to my friends that he was in Pearl Harbor. I thank God he wasn't. So because of his military occupation, my dad was not present most of the time, but I remember the thrill of getting up in the middle of the night in pajamas to go with my mother and sister Deborah to pick him up after flight operations. And I'd see him in his orange flight suit at the Naval Air Station in Dallas before falling asleep on my way home to be carried in and put back in the bed. I was taken by my father's looks. My mother and dad looked like Barbie and Ken. He was 6 feet tall, 6'1" tall, with black hair, big brown, sensitive eyes. His smile was amiable, and his hands were exquisite. I focus on these things because I never saw him enough. Throughout my life, there was never anyone whom I wanted to know more. I was always proud to see my mother and dad together. They were indeed a glamorous couple. Movie stars had nothing on them. To see my dad in uniform was breathtaking to me. It is so fitting and appropriate that he be laid to rest here at Arlington, among the many thousands of young men between the ages of 20 and 40 who sacrificed their lives for our freedom. Who among us could do more? How he served his country. My family lived in Vienna while my dad worked at the Pentagon. Without a doubt, my most vivid and dramatic memories happened touring Washington, D.C. We went to the Lincoln and Jefferson Memorial, the Smithsonian Institute. We climbed the Washington Monument. He and my mother comforted me as I wept at Ford's Theater, as I had an affection for Abraham Lincoln. We went to Mount Vernon, Williamsburg, Gettysburg, Iwo Jima, and I was so proud. Divorce, distance, and time would dictate the mechanics of a relationship that would then reside in our minds. In my mind, my dad could do no wrong. My dad was a lover of animals, an avid fisherman on a pond where he built his retirement home in Delaware. He loved his Philadelphia Eagles. He read a lot, and he always encouraged me to read. He loved to travel. He never missed sending cards with money on Christmas and birthdays. My dad has been there for me throughout many critical times in my life. Had it not been for his efforts, I would never have been a merchant marine. Financially, he and his wife Nancy provided a down payment on our first home, and 14 years later provided my ex-wife's share of equity payment so I could stay in my present home. They have been extremely generous to me with their hard-earned money, and for that I am grateful. I remember the time when, after having run away to a dorm lounge at Ithaca College in upstate New York, where a student friend sent me cross-country bus fare, I had to leave at Thanksgiving break. I hitched a ride in the middle of the night in a blizzard and ended up at Bob and Nancy's Newtown Square travel agent. Unannounced, of course. And he welcomed me with open arms. A huge smile, and he took me in. It was in his later years, around 70 and above, that on rare occasions he would volunteer information about his military experience. I was so awestruck that I couldn't retain, but because my attention was so divided by the mere fact that he was telling me, and I was in his company one-on-one, there was never enough time alone with my dad. I enjoyed every expression of his face. I enjoyed every expression his face would make, the sound of his calculated voice, every mannerism I ever saw, his laugh, his gub-gubs. My dad had dignity. He was reserved, but he had a great sense of humor. Since my dad never really let me in, he'll always remain a mystery. But in his final days, when he struggled mightily to speak, he let me know that he loved me with his eyes and his hands and his verbal prayers as we both prayed together at his bedside. Thank you, Dad. Thank you, Jesus. My most treasured memory of my dad was on the happiest day of my life, my wedding day. He came, and during the reception, he danced. Boy, did he dance with my 11-year-old niece, Bethany, to a fast-paced, it was a blistering-paced version of Rock and Robin. That was so fun and exhilarating to watch. It was pure joy and motion. And we all laughed and loved, and it's all on video. I got to see my dad express himself to near exhaustion at 70 years old. Thank you, Dad. So in closing, I salute you, Commander G. Robert Pinney. I embrace you, my beloved father. And I thank you. I thank you. I thank you for all you were able to give of yourself to me, and for the impact you've made in the lives of the families you've touched. I've never felt closer to you than I do right now. May the peace of the Lord be with you always. I love you, Dad.
Amen.